So, week 2, biblical finance, we're going to be discussing like some things as far as record keeping. All right, so before I get into that, I am going to ask one question. How many of us are maybe like executive of our business, like a CEO of our business? Any CEOs of our business? What do you do, sir?
I run a construction company.
Construction company. Okay, awesome, awesome. Any other CEOs, executive in this room?
Of my private,
Huh? Private?
my private,
Class. Okay, so
business, yeah.
private business. Okay. Anybody
I
else?
would say at home with my husband.
Yeah.
Boom. At home with your husband. What do you do?
Homemaker.
Homemaker. Okay. So awesome. So when I ask anybody else, anybody who didn't say me, you all failed.
I said,
But it's
that's what I
okay.
was saying.
But it's okay because y'all didn't know what I was asking the question of, right? Y'all was, when I said CEO, y'all thought I was thinking about a business, right?
Dan,
But I'm gonna
that's
let
what I
you.
was trying to say.
I know, but you've been in this class and you know. But when I talk about a business being a CEO, I'm gonna let all of y'all know, all of us know. I know you said construction, but you got another business. You have a
Amen.
household.
Amen.
You running a household,
Amen.
right? And as you running a household, you are a chief executive officer. You are the chief operating officer. You are the chief financial officer of your household, right? You are a manager, an executive manager of that household. You are managing your household under the directions of God, right? If we're Christians, we're putting God in the forefront of our life, right? And we're following His instructions, right? Everything we say belongs to God, right? And we're managing all the things that He has provided for us. Our kids aren't ours. Our kids belong to God, right? Our lives aren't ours. Our lives belong to God. Our finances aren't ours. They belong to God. We're just managing that, all right? And I want you to take that understanding when I talk about who's running the business. You are running a business, right? You're running your household business.
Yes.
The unfortunate thing about this is that a lot of times, because we don't realize we are running a business, we forget to run the business. And I mean that's for our financial home, right? So construction, I'm gonna ask you a question for right now, right? So when you talk about running a business, do you know, you don't have to tell me, do you know what you own in your business? What are your assets in your business?
I do.
Okay, do you know what your liabilities on your business are?
Yes.
Do you know your receiver, what's coming into your business? Do you know that average what's coming in on a monthly basis?
I do.
Do you know what's going out on a monthly basis?
Yeah.
Do you have a financial statement that tells you that I'm making this amount of money every month?
Yep.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask another question. Don't answer this question, just think about it. Do you know what you have coming to your house every month? Not your salary, what you have coming to your house every month. Do you know what's going out every month? Do you have a financial statement of what's going on in your house every month? All right? Do you think you will operate a business the way you operate in your home right now? Right? So the question is, the thing is not that we should be, but we just don't remember to, we don't think about the importance of doing so. We won't operate a business and just let it, most of us want to operate a business and just let it just ride and go and just go with the flow. But however, we run our household a separate business and we run with the flow. A lot of times it's because we wasn't taught that is important, right? Darrell talks about different type of skill sets, right? This is not one of those innate skill sets that we know how to do. This is something that we have to be taught and learn how to do it, right? So we're going to talk about that today. How do we run our business, right? How do we run our business? And the first thing we need to know how to run a business, what we talked about, is knowing where our business is right now. What do I own, right? Versus things I own, who I owe, right? And when we did that, that was the homework last week. That was our financial statement, or accounting terms, a balance sheet, a statement of financial position, right? That tells us what our net worth is, right? And when we did that assignment last week, we would have seen what our net worth is. And our net worth for some of us may be a negative balance. It's okay if it's negative. Our net worth may be a positive balance. That's great if it is, right? More than likely, unless you have a lot of savings or unless you have real estate, for the majority of us, we're gonna be negative. Majority of us gonna have owe more and because of debt, right? Then we have saving, a lot of us, and that may not be all of us, but that's, the statistics that Darrell shared with us, that's the majority of Americans, right? So we most of us, if we are negative, it's normal if we don't own a home or have retirement. Should we beat ourselves up? No. Why do we make you do the assignment? So you know where you at right now, right? That's your starting point. If I was to ask you, right, so we all attend Faith Assembly, and I'm asking you, I don't attend Faith Assembly, I wanna go to Faith Assembly, I want you to give me directions to come to this church.
Absolutely, you're gonna go to the east side of Goldenrod and Curry Road.
Okay, and what else?
You're gonna see the church right there, you can't miss it.
I'm lost. I don't know what East Side of Golden Road is. What do you need to know to tell me how to get here?
Oh, first of all, where you at?
Thank you.
Yeah.
You need to know where I'm starting from.
Right.
So if you don't know where I'm starting from, you can't tell me where I'm getting. And if you don't know where you're starting from, you may have a desire of where you want to go, but you may not know exactly how to get there or how you're going to get there if you don't know where you're starting from. All right. So the first thing is that knowing doing that financial thing, we give you a homework assignment. We're going to give you a homework assignment. Please don't be upset. I'm going to pound you on it, right? Not because I care about whether you do a homework assignment. I just know the importance of doing a homework assignment. You started your business at one point. I don't know if you started that right away, but very quickly you had to realize that you had to do some things in order to operate your business. How long have you been in business?
We've been in business 15 years.
15 years. First couple of years, you probably didn't know all that stuff, right?
Correct.
I know they talk about I work for the IRS. I'm an accountant, right? I'm a certified public accountant, licensed. I work for the IRS, and I do audit individuals. Now audit a lot of businesses. And the first few years, when I'm auditing businesses, what I'm seeing is that they're making mistakes. Are these businesses making a mistake? Are they trying to defraud the IRS? Maybe not. Are they making a mistake because they just don't know how to operate the financial aspects of it, right? Run the operations, the money aspect of it? Probably. Do they know how to run a business? Yes. Do they know how to make money? Yes. Right? But if they don't run that financial aspect, they're gonna be in trouble. It's gonna cost them money. You ever had to spend, did it ever cost you money because you had to learn things that maybe you didn't? Okay. So it's something that we have to learn to do, and if we don't do it right, it's gonna cost us money in business and also in our financial life, right? So spending plan, right? So we talked on the side of the financial statement that we do, let's know where we at. We have, that's important, right? Next thing we're gonna talk about is doing the spending plan. And I use the word spending plan. We joke around when we say the word budget as being like a curse word, right? Because when we hear the word budget, it kind of gives like a negative feel, right? I'm old school. I like being in control. I think a budget, when I first think of budget, I think budget takes away my control, right? Because it's telling me what to do. That's what my thoughts is at first, right? That's what my thoughts were. But what I realize now that if I use it correctly, that I am more in control and I am telling my finances what to do, right? Versus my budget telling me what to do, I'm telling my finance what to do, right? And I call it as a spending plan. And that's what we're gonna use out in this class. So let me see if I can get this going. My mouse turned off. So just a reminder that we're going to be working on this book, The Total Money Makeover. You could purchase this book downstairs. I think we was corrected last week. It was like $17 or so. We also have it in our available to you in our resource if you have it on the app. So let's talk about a budget, right? I know I said that curse, said it was a curse, but we're gonna talk about what it is versus a spending plan, right? So a budget slash spending plans are similar in that they help us manage our finances. However, there are differences between them. In my view, there's differences between them. Sometimes people use them interchangeably, but I think there's a little bit difference between them. For me, a budget helps you plan finances by detailing your income and expenses by allocating your income and into a strict expense category. Okay, so budget, we're putting stuff into a strict expense category to control our spending. So basically, put our stuff in a strict expense category. We are spending based on that strict expense category, right? Helpful, right? Not the best plan, but it's a good plan. And we're gonna, and I found out that majority of people don't do a budget, right? I found out the only two, I think Darrell shared with us before, not last week, but another class, and hopefully share it again. I'm gonna steal a little bit of thunder, but maybe 2% of the population actually use a budget. So if you're not using a budget, you're not alone, right? If you're using one, you're very unique in that situation, right? Now, what's a spending plan? A spending plan is a type of budget that combines with our financial goals. So you have your budget combined with your financial goals to plan out your spending, right? So it's working with your financial goal, which is more of a roadmap than than being restricted. Okay, so when you have your budget with your goals, versus saying, okay, this is how I gotta do it each and every month, it's you using it as a road month, which gives you that flexibility, right? But with that flexibility and with that flexibility, you have some responsibility as well, right? When you think of a budget as non-negotiable path, it focuses on what you have left over after meeting your basic needs to improve your life or reach a goal that you have set. So with the spending plan, okay, we're gonna put a budget together. We're gonna see what's going out. We're gonna compare what's coming in, right? We're gonna compare to what's going out, and at the end, we're gonna have what I call a residual income. What's left over? That's what I could do other things with. That when we have our goals, we're gonna combine that residual income, and we're gonna think about what our goals are, and we're gonna use our income residual income to help make our goals. For some of us, that may be becoming debt free if we're not debt free yet, right? For some of us, that may be starting to invest and saving for retirement, right? But that's what our residual income would do, right? And that's what we're gonna use our residual income for in our spending plan, right? So we're gonna talk more about becoming debt-free steps and different baby steps and applying and how to go about doing that. But that's what our goal is gonna help us doing with our residual income. All right. So writing the vision down. Don't just keep it in your head, right? It's good to think about it, but if you only have it here, you're not visualizing. For most of us, it's gonna lead us to failure, right? A lot of us, we could see things, right? But we write it down, for some of us, to help us remember and help us keep in track. All right, so we think about the verse will be, then the Lord replied, this is Habakkuk 2, verse 2. So it says, write down the revelation and make it plain on tablets so that a herald may run with it. So that's just someone who is a messenger. So a messenger could run with it. So we need to make our plan, right? Plain and simple, right? If you're a husband and wife, I love when husband and wife are doing this together. It makes it a lot easier. It's not that it can't be done. If you see I'm here by myself, my wife is not the planner. I work the budget, but it makes it a little bit, I gotta do things to make it work, be a little bit flexible. So if you're not here with your spouse, right? It's not that it can't work, it's just harder, right? So, and you gotta be in unity, that's important, right? So this class, for right now, may cause some of y'all to, you know, have a little bit of fighting. Make sure y'all doing it biblically, all right? Which is for another class, but make sure you're doing it biblically. But work it out, make it happen, right? Don't avoid it, it's important, right? But when you make your plan, it should be so simple and written out so that way if the spouse writes it, the husband should be able to look at it and run with it. If the husband writes it, the wife should be able to look at it and be able to run with it. If the husband and wife are out, the kids, they should be able to look at it and run with it. All right? Talk about starting point, helping me get into church. We gotta know where we at to know how we're gonna get to where we're going. All right, so I'm not gonna spend a lot of time discussing about the financial statements or the formula of a financial statement. I would share this with Darrell so he could share this with you on our app and have access to it. This will give this also, if you want to get like a balance sheet, the download, we'll share that with you as well. It'll be on the PowerPoint. Get information on what a financial statement is. Right, we're gonna share that with you as well, but we're not gonna spend the time in this class to discuss it. Alright, so what I do wanna spend time on is, if you open up your material, if you have your book, the material that we gave you last week, if you have it, great. If not, if we could just show just some of the,
I got a book last week, but it was empty inside.
it was empty inside?
I realized when I got home.
We're gonna give you a new book. We'll give you a new book. But if you look in your book, we have, one of the statements we have is a household spending plan, for tracking, right? And we're giving you this on paper, and I'm not a paper person, right? But it's good to look at this as an idea. What are things I can do just to get the juices flowing on what things you should have in your spending plan, right? So you can use this. Another good thing that you can use when you're making your spending plan, right?
Is that on the book? Because I didn't read the book with you.
Yeah.
This,
Yeah.
was that the spending plan?
Yeah, the starting spending plan is that on that's on the book.
Oh, to start, no, some of the things we're gonna share with you, that's gonna be an addition, alright, so,
Okay, so this will be,
yeah, that's not the book, but I'm gonna share this PowerPoint, yeah, I'm gonna share this PowerPoint with Darrell, and he's gonna have it available for you, right? I'm actually gonna make it available for you, so you
The
can
book
start
doesn't
right
put it
there.
together, so I guess nice and neat. So we have this PowerPoint for you guys to lead you through.
Yeah. He has a question.
This is
Quick
a,
question, do we have access to get more sheets of these?
Yes.
Through the app?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
We actually have, so just for you guys' awareness, we have an example, uploaded online for you guys, and then we have a blank template as well. We have a 1 month template, and then we have a year template for you guys to continue on.
Thank you.
So,
so that's what I wanted to get to, that, you know.
you got it. You got it. I think for the exercise of creating your spending plan, we want you guys to use that 1 month template first.
Time, yeah.
And then as you get comfortable with the format, stretch that into the 12-month template.
so, exactly right, so this form right here that's there, this is gonna help you create like your first budget, right? So you have this, another tool would be to create your budget, would be something that you have that's available to you that you probably won't think of, but you have something that's tracking your data, your spending habits. What would that be?
Statement?
Huh?
Bank statement?
Your bank statements. Your bank statements are tracking your spending habits, right? Because most of us, either your bank statements or your credit cards, because we're usually using one of those two things to buy things, right? So one thing, what we could use besides looking at this to get like an idea of what our spending plans are, we can also look up our credit card statements, and we can also look at bank statements. Look and see what we're spending, right? Look at those things. And the thing about that is, and B, give yourself mercy, give yourself a little bit of grace, because you're gonna be surprised if you haven't been tracking it, if you've been going with the flow, if you're like me, you're gonna be surprised that what you thought you were spending, you wasn't spending. What you had in your mind, that I spent on entertainment of $200 a month, back when I was in the military in 2012, 12-ish, when I started doing a budget, I'm spending $200 on entertainment. Wasn't tracking it. I think one month I had miscellaneous and entertainment. But I think between the two things I had a crazy month that month, but it was like $1,700. Right, on those two items, right? Can't run a household like that, right? And hopefully it's not that bad, but look at yours, and I promise you, don't want to say I promise you, I'm pretty sure that you're gonna be awakened. Like they say, you're gonna be woke when you look at what you've been spending per category, right? So do that, right? But when you do that, don't do that you do that to get information. So the information we're gonna look at is, okay, I wanna know what I'm spending, right? But then when I get that data, what every business person do, what does business people do with data? They analyze it so they can make plans, so they can make decisions. There's a big thing right now for colleges as far as a program where they do like big data analysis. They have different names for it, but basically they're teaching people how to put data together and how to manipulate it to put it to where it could be useful information. So CEOs, CFOs, and COOs are able to use that information to make their decisions, right? So that's all you. You're gonna be putting the information together. You're gonna be gathering the data. You're gonna be analyzing the data. You're gonna be making that decisions, all right? So, so you're gonna look at this just to give you an idea. You're gonna look at maybe last 3 months of bank statements, right? And even when you do that, that may not be everything, because keep in mind, you're gonna have expenses that are variable, that doesn't happen every month, right? I think of car maintenance. Car maintenance, I probably won't, well, last month I had a lot, but if I go to, 3 or 4 months ago, I won't see anything in car maintenance. So I may not, if I stick my budget only, if I base my budget only on what I saw in my bank statement or my credit card statement, I may not remember to put car maintenance in there. I may not remember to put birthday gifts in there, right? Birthday gifts. I may not remember to put Christmas shopping in there. I have kids. I may not remember to put clothing shopping in there, all right? A lot of time we have 5 years old, right? Kindergarten, all right? We have to, let's say go to like a private school, but still, they go to private school, have to wear uniform. You still have, you have that expense maybe once or twice a year. Going back to school, you have that expense. Supplies, you have that expense. A lot of times we're not planning for that in our budget, and when that time comes, we're spending for it anyways, it's there. We forgot to plan for it. Holidays, do we plan for what we're gonna spend on Christmas? Or do we spend money on Christmas? All right, and when we spend money on Christmas, you think we're spending more than we should? We're probably spending more than we should, right? So that's something we need to budget for. We need to plan for it. It's coming, prepare for it. Christmas gifts, birthday presents. Your spouse having a birthday, did you put that in the budget?
Your kids.
Are you gonna buy them something? Your kids? Yes,
Vacation.
vacation, all right? If you go on vacation, we're gonna take vacation, right? Maybe some of us gonna make a decision to be, when you read the book, they're gonna talk about live like no one else in order to live like no one else. But when you read the book, you're gonna get that. Right now it doesn't right now it may not make sense, but read the book and you're like, oh, I see what he was talking about. But we're gonna live like no one else in order to live like no one else later. Maybe we may take vacation out, maybe we may still keep it, but we will maybe streamline it, right? But we're gonna take it, we need a budget for it. Because when we don't budget for those things, what happens is that we spend for out of finance and resources that we don't have, right? And then we're trying to catch up with that, right? And we're spending more than we should because we're financing those items, right? So spending plan, fill these out, think about what we have. You're gonna see on the list that we have, the first top of the list, we talk about, your income. And I should have prepared a statement digital, but you, on top you have like your income. And if you wanna figure out on the budget side, and I do have it here, I have this, and I'm gonna explain this a little bit. You have a budget side, for, or spending plan side, what you are forecasting. So budget is just a forecast. This is what I think I'm gonna spend, right? Then you're gonna have a side for your actual. What would that be? What do you think that's gonna be?
What you actually came in,
What you actually spent, and how you gonna get that information?
look at the bank statement.
You're gonna have to go and actually track it. How many of us do that? Don't answer questions, think about it. You do it because you're in business, right? You have to do that.
Yeah.
Without running a business, are we doing that, right? So if we're not realizing that our household is our business, we may not be doing that, all right? So now we know we need to do that. We are expected to do that, right? So I forecasted this amount. This is what I actually spent. Why do I wanna know, when am I looking at my budget and my actual, why am I using that information for? What do I hope to see out of that? So if I budgeted this, I actually spend that, have a difference, right? My variance. My variance is gonna, again, data. I'm gonna use that data, that information to help me make future decisions. My variance is gonna tell me, okay, I budgeted this, I was over, right? So I got a couple of decisions to make. Was I over because my budget wasn't realistic? And I need to maybe increase my budget or adjust my budget? Or was my behavior not proper, right? Was I a little bit too, did I squander too much, right? Either way, I have to fix something. Either I'm gonna make an adjustment, if my budget is off, if my variance is off, I'm gonna either have to adjust, or I'm gonna have to, my budget, or I'm gonna have to adjust my behavior, right? I may make a decision that my budget, I budgeted this is my behavior, it was right on point, but you know what, maybe I could cut here, right? And we're gonna do some lessons later where we could probably look at things where we could cut off of, right? So in the first part, we talk about income. What is our budgeted income? So if we're salary, that's easy, right? If you're weekly, right, you know what that is. I would recommend if you are weekly, don't look at your annual salary and just simply dividing it by 12, because you're gonna have some weeks, you're gonna have some months where you have 4 checks, you're gonna have some months where you have 5. Right, if you use that average, it's just gonna throw you off between your residual income. So what that means is that I'm gonna have to know how many weeks I have, so how many paychecks I have that month, right? And adjust it for that month, right?
Question.
Yes, ma'am.
When you were talking about budget, it's the forecast, variance is the difference. Say again what actual is.
It's what you really did spend. So I budgeted this, at the beginning of the month, I plan to spend this amount on these items. Or I plan to bring this the income gonna come in. But when at the end of the month, let's see what actually did happen, right? So a lot of people, first of all, we realize that only 2% of the population make a budget. Maybe 2% of that actually look at the actual.
Okay, is that, you use the term expected, is that what it is?
Yeah, so expect, to me, the budget is a forecast, which is what we expect to happen.
Can I ask a
Yes,
question?
Yes,
Because
ma'am.
I still today get a little confused. So, for example, to start with it, how can I put it in a budget first if I don't even know exactly what it is? So we recommend to start with the actual and then do the budget later?
No, so you could look at you could use the bank statements, like in credit card statement, if you're using credit cards. We wanna stop doing that, but if you're using that right now, we're gonna use that to get historical data, right? And when we use that for historical data, for the prior months, we're gonna use that to help us make the current month or the future month's, budget.
But that
Or
goes in
spend.
actual.
Huh?
That goes in actual.
No, that's gonna go, because that was the history, that didn't happen yet. So that's gonna, so you're using that to help create the forecast.
As a baseline to create your budget.
Yes, yes, sir.
I have someone, if for the budget amount that we do, like we do like an average, we do the like 3 months of expenses,
Mhm.
and we do like an average, and that was the number that we use. For
For the
example,
budget?
for the budget, like utilities, you know, like in the winter month you use less, the summer month you use more. We compare both, and then we have an average for the whole year, monthly, like, because like utility, you depending the season, you use more, you use less.
So, like the budgets, like, and I like using the word forecast, I think of weather. We get people to forecast the weather a lot of time, and what they're using scientific data based on historic events and based on what happening to kind of figure this is what's gonna be happening soon. Is it always right? No, but it gives us something to plan for. So that's what your budget is, you know? You're using what information you have, and you're making the best guesstimate, right, of what you think that month expense or that month is gonna be. And the more you do it, the more you're gonna realize and make some adjustment, you're gonna get better at creating your forecast, right? So what I'm saying by me saying this is means, okay, I'm not gonna set it one time and that's it. I'm gonna do this monthly, right? I gave 2 hints. It's not a George Foreman, he's not gonna set and forget it. I gave 2 hints. You gotta look at it every month, cause you're monthly, if you get paid weekly, you're gonna adjust. If you get paid bi-weekly, you're gonna have to adjust. If you can't pay monthly, it's easy, right? If you're salary one time, it's easy. If you're semi-monthly, you get paid on the 1st and the 15th, that's easy, it's not gonna change. But people who are bi-weekly or weekly, it's gonna fluctuate. People who are commissioned, it's gonna fluctuate. Yes, sir.
Quick question, so a good idea would be do budget before the month and actual like towards the end of the month?
Exactly right.
Mhm.
Exactly right.
That leads you into the next month.
Mhm.
So, and real quick, Dan, just to put it, an analogy in front of you guys, my wife and I, have our expenses sheet, right, our spending plan. We've been tracking our electricity and our water bill for forever now, right? So every time we pay that bill, we know exactly how much we're paying on our register. So what ends up happening is we've collected all that data, and I actually have it to where I created a graph. You can see where our electricity bill is gonna be throughout the year. So right around that hot period where we're expecting the high energy bills in July, August
Just
timeframe,
seeing more.
we can project that we're gonna need
Yeah.
more money into there based off of the average. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So that's what he means by you take your 3-month average to give you a baseline of what you can expect to spend, and then you do a pulse check towards the end of the month to get your actual, and then you see if that was accurate or not. And then that gives you the indication of whether or not you need to make an adjustment. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And that's how you live as accurately as possible. The idea is to get to 0 at the end of every month for each line item, right? So your electricity, you budgeted for $100, you spent $100, that's great. That means you were 100% accurate. If you have a delta, what are you doing with that money, right? If it's more, then it was unrealistic. You might need to adjust to get more into that budget for that line item for that, pay period.
Yeah.
If you came under, you got more money than what you intended to spend. You put that back into your snowball and you pay off your debt with it. Does that make sense?
Yes. Mhm.
So as you go on, you should be able to get more closer to what the actual accurate number is going to be. Does that make sense?
Yes.
But you only get that way, guys, if you understand your data and continue to monitor it.
Mhm.
That's why we did this with 10 weeks, right?
Yes.
You get 10 weeks with us. The first 2 weeks, we're getting you to understand your numbers. The next 8 weeks, you're gonna have opportunity to see it and then make adjustments as it goes. Make sense?
And also, if you have a big delta, like there was
Deltas
saying,
change.
you have to write why that happened. It can be that one time something happened that
Yeah,
month.
I didn't know.
You have like a medical emergency.
Mhm.
And this month we have out of the budget because this one. You have to write it because that way you cannot use it for your next budget because it was a one time occurrence.
So for example, like if electricity, it was less this month, we had to write why, cause maybe we wasn't home.
Yeah, maybe
Yes.
your AC broke down,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah, like,
that it
if
went
there's-
skyrocketing.
If something happened that's out of the normal, like,
Yeah.
write it down. That way you know
I
to not
guess.
take into account that one for the next
Yeah.
one.
Couple of times we threw a baby shower, so we had like 7 people over, and
Yeah,
eight,
it went
you know,
up.
nobody's closing the door.
Yeah.
So, our AC bill was way up there, so
I
that
keep
was.
saying sorry. Yeah, so he mentioned one thing about snowball, which is something we're gonna talk about, snowball, but think of it as a specific goal. All right, that's part, so when we do our spending plan, we're looking at, and I want, do we have, on the top of your paper, talk about income? And I'm gonna spend another 2 minutes real quick, then the bottom you have expenses, right? And we have the expenses in different categories. I don't care how you put it in your budget, but just so you can think about it, we have expenses in different categories. You have expenses that are fixed expenses, that these expenses don't change, right? Our rent, in the short term, it don't change, right? 2 years from now, your rent may be different, but right now, short term, the rent is fixed. If we have a car payment's fixed. Certain things are generally fixed. We have HOA, insurance, things like some things are fixed. We have a cell phone plan, that stuff may be fixed. That stuff won't change. Then we have things that are variable. We have 2 types of variable, stuff that are semi-variable, right? They change, but not much. Light bill is one of those things, right? Water bill. They change, but hopefully don't change too much unless, again, you invite me to your house, I leave your door open all day, right? You may have a lot of variable that time. I was just joking, that didn't really happen, but that could have happened. So stuff that could be very variable would be like entertainment. Gave you my example. We gotta really control. But those are stuff like you may go out to eat maybe once in a while, right? You like plan on go like on Sunday and spend X amount, but now you go on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, or you eating lunch, you know what I mean? And you're buying lunch all the time, you're buying coffee. Those are your variable stuff. Those stuff is gonna change drastically. Those are stuff that we need to control. Yep. And then when we're done with that, we're gonna get what our net residual income, net income. Jarrell used what's that word he used last week? Can't think of it right now. Never mind. Oh, don't get old. But your residual income, what's left over, we use that to put with our goals. For some of us, that our goals, one of our first goals may be, one of our second goals may be paying off our debt. That may go into your snowball, and we'll explain that later. All right. But in order to get to that, the first thing we need to do is know where we at and create the spending plan. All right, make sure we do that. So that's gonna be next week. Have that done, your homework, right? And it's not gonna be just your homework for 10 weeks. This is gonna be homework that you're gonna do every month for life. If you're getting the plan, what we've been talking about, that's not just a 10-week thing, all right? Deron, I look at what he does, and he's monitoring it all the time, right? And you see the success he has. I see other people that don't monitor as much, not that they don't have success, but it's harder. And you may need to monitor it maybe daily, weekly, monthly, but it may depend on your residual and how much flexibility you have. If you have less flexibility between what's left over, you may need to monitor it closer, all right?
One more note for everybody before we part ways. By the time that you get done with your spending plan and listing all your numbers, the amount that you have on your income versus the amount that you're spending should equal exactly 0, down to the cent. Okay?
Including your goals, what your goals set. Okay.
So you should be planning to spend every penny and direct it to go somewhere on your spending plan. If you have a balance left over, you gotta fix that, right? Because you don't want one penny that's not being delegated towards where you want it to go. Does that make sense, guys? You guys do that, and that's the starting block for you. If you need any additional help or questions or anything like that, then that's what we're here for. Okay, guys? Thank you all.
Heavenly Father, we thank you, Lord God, and we pray, Lord God, that you will help us as we move forward. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Class.